So what does Shaquille O'Neal, Jennifer Aniston, Taylor Swift, and Arnold Schwarzenegger all have in common? Well, outside of being very successful at the things that they do, they all also hold real estate as a part of their wealth. Actually, the majority of millionaires and billionaires in this country have real estate included in their portfolio. So when Tassine and I decided that we wanted to be financially independent and retired by the age of 40, we knew that real estate somehow had to be involved. So with little knowledge and no experience at all, we began to invest. Fast forward 4 years later, now we own 3 rental units and we're on the way to closing on our 4th property by the end of the month. And we've gained some knowledge over these years that we wish we knew in the beginning. So we put together this 8-step guide to help you guys get started on your rental real estate investment journey today. So stay tuned.
Hi guys!
I'm John.
And I'm Tassine. Welcome to our channel Millennial Fire, where we give practical tips on reaching financial independence and early retirement. So if you've been liking our content so far, please hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed already, please hit the subscribe button because that really helps us out.
So why invest in real estate? Well, one of the reasons we love real estate investment is because of supply and demand. One of the things that we all have in common on this planet is that we all will always need somewhere to live, and real estate is the way to do that. So we don't see that going out of business anytime soon. So you may ask, why rental properties? Well, there are a lot of ways to invest in real estate, but we choose rental properties because it allows us to set up a passive to semi-passive income stream that can last over years and years versus a single sale.
So before you start investing in real estate, you want to make sure you get your finances in order. So there's 3 pre-steps we recommend that you take. First, you want to improve your credit. And ideally, you want your credit to be above 700 so that you can open yourself up to getting better rates. But to get the best rates possible, your credit score should be over 740. The second thing is that you want to pay off as much debt as possible. It would be ideal to get rid of any debt that's not making you any income, because there is a percentage that lenders look at called your debt to income ratio. That is a percentage that reflects how much debt you have in comparison to how much income you make. So the lower this number is, the more likely that you will be approved for a loan. The third thing is that you want to make sure that you save as much as possible. You want to first make sure that you have a substantial emergency fund. And then on top of that, you want to save as much money as you can for a down payment. And we're not saying that you have to have $50,000 before you can buy your first house. Not at all. Because especially if you are a first-time home buyer, there may be programs that you qualify for that will help with your down payment assistance. And we'll put a link in the description below so that you can check if you qualify for any of these programs.
So now that we've covered the pre-steps, let's jump into the 8-step guide. So step number 1 is to know your market, and there's plenty of things to know here. The first thing to know is the type of property that you want to invest in. There are some options. So you have single family homes, you have condos, you have townhouses, and you have small multifamily. A small multifamily home is a duplex, a triplex, or a quadruplex. The next thing to know is the neighborhood and the community that you want to invest in. What do you need to know about them? So some important things to know are the prices of houses in the area and what the going rent is in the area. Also, it's important to know what the school ratings are, what the crime rate is, what amenities are nearby, whether it has restaurants, hospitals, whether it has movie theaters. It's also important to know what jobs are either coming in or leaving the area. And also you want to know the future plans of development for the area. So where do you do this research? Well, we suggest that you guys start at the popular real estate sites. These real estate sites include Trulia.com, Zillow.com, Redfin.com, Realtor.com, and there are plenty more, and we will have them in the description below. After you do your research here, you can also go and look at your county tax appraiser's website to get some accurate information as well. So there are websites that you can use to get estimated rent values. One of them that we use that we love is called rentometer.com, link in the description below. You could also look at Craigslist.com. You could also look at Facebook Marketplace to get an idea of what the going rent rate is for comparable properties in that area. And one of our favorite ways to get some of this information is simply by driving through the neighborhoods and driving through these communities. You should feel comfortable where you're investing. You should know where you're investing. So take an afternoon to drive through and see what the community looks like, and you will be able to pick up a lot of information just by looking around.
And one thing I want to note is that this is probably one of the most important parts of your investment, because you can update an old property to make it look brand new, make it look like a luxury property, but you can never change the location. The location is something that it's going to be the location today, and it's going to be the location 100 years from now. And yes, locations can develop. There are areas that have grown over time, but you want to make sure that you're investing in an area that is a good location and that has plans to be better. So step number 2 is to understand your loan options. Unless you're buying this property cash, you're going to need a mortgage in order to acquire a property. So with mortgages, they typically run from a 30-year term, but they can go as low as a 5-year term. And the rule of thumb is the longer the loan term is, the smaller your payment will be every month, but the higher the interest rate will be. And in interest rates, there are 2 different structures for interest rates. It can either be a fixed interest rate or an adjustable rate mortgage. And the fixed interest rate, it means exactly what it says. You're going to have a fixed amount of interest for the life of the loan. So that interest rate is never going to change. With an adjustable rate mortgage, your interest rate will start at a certain amount and then it will change. It will fluctuate based on an index and based on the market. For rental properties, we believe that fixed interest rates is the way to go, because you're going into rental properties in order to get passive income. So you don't want an interest rate to fluctuate, because that's not going to fluctuate the amount of passive income you're going to be able to receive. So there are many different types of loans out there. The main thing to understand is that you're either going to be able to get a loan as a primary resident, so you're buying the house to live in it, and usually the stipulation is to live in it for a year. And usually you have more favorable terms if you're going to be the person living in the house that you buy. Or you're going to purchase the property as an investor. And with the investor, the terms of buying that, you're going to have higher interest rates and they're going to require more money down in order to buy the property.
So you guys may be wondering why we're talking about primary residence loans in an investment video. Well, yes, you will have to live in the home for a year as a primary residence, but then you can move to another home and then turn that initial primary residence into a rental home. And so you can still get the benefits of getting a rental home with the benefits of having the loan options of a primary residence.
So we're going to go over 4 different types of the most common loans out there. So there are VA loans, and VA loans are only available to veterans.
And thank you guys for your service so much.
Yes,
we really appreciate it.
Thank you guys. And so with these loans, you're able to get 100% financing, so 0% down, and you're able to purchase either single-family homes or small multi-family homes with this loan. If you're a veteran, it's a great opportunity to take advantage of. They have programs out there that may be able to even assist you with your closing costs as well. So you can really get a house with no money out of your pocket at all. The next one that we're going to talk about is USDA loans. USDA loans are also primary residence loans, and they also have the option for 100% financing. But the stipulation with this loan is the location. They only offer these loans for areas that are rural or suburban. You can't buy a house in the city with this loan. And we'll provide the link in the description below so that you can see what locations qualify for this loan. The third loan is an FHA loan, and this also is a primary residence loan. So you're able to get a low down payment, 3.5%. And what's great about this is that you can get it for single families or a small multifamily. So you can end up only having to spend a little bit out of pocket, and you can start out as your first home with a renter already, because you can live on one side and rent out the other 2 or 3 sides. The last one we're going to talk about is a conventional loan. And this type of loan, you can either use it as a primary residence loan or an investor loan. As a primary resident, if you qualify, you can actually buy a single family home for as little as 3% down. For a multifamily home, you would need to put at least 15% down. As an investor, they usually require a little bit higher, so at least 20% down, and there are higher interest rates associated with an investor loan.
So now that you understand your loan options, we can move to step number 3, and that's getting a pre-approval. A pre-approval is when you reach out to a lender and they do a quick check on your finances to see if they're willing to give you a loan. The benefit of this is once we get to the future steps and we make offers, your offers seem a lot more legitimate to sellers once you have a lender saying they will back you for this loan. So during this process, when you apply for a pre-approval, you're going to have to provide some financial information. At this point, this is where it becomes very important that you have your finances in order. You may be asked for W-2s, you may be asked for pay stubs and things like this, because the lender wants to verify that if they give you this loan, that you can actually pay it. So go ahead and get all of that information together and keep it together, because you're going to need it throughout this process. So when you go through this pre-approval process and the lender agrees to pre-approve you, you will get back documentation showing you the loan amount that you're approved for. And a very important thing to know is that you do not have to use the entire loan amount. They may approve you for $1 million, but if all you need to use to do your investment is $200,000, just use that $200,000. Please don't use all the money if you don't have to. And another important thing to note here is that you will also get the interest rate, like I said. You can apply for more than one pre-approval, and these rates might be slightly different. We recommend that you do at least 3 pre-approvals and gauge the differences between them to see what option is going to be best for you.
And one thing to add is that they tell you your interest rate, but also get an estimate of what the APR will be, because the interest rate is something that stays with you for the life of the loan. But the APR is important too, because that tells you how much it's costing you in order to get this loan. So different lenders may have higher APRs because there are more fees associated with using them. And so don't only look at the interest rate, also look at the APR, because this can give you a better idea of which lender is giving you a better deal. Step number 4 is to find a real estate agent. You don't want to just pick the first one you see. You want to make sure you interview them. You want to make sure that they are experienced in the area of real estate that you're interested in, the market that you're interested in. You want to look up the reviews of the brokerage that they work for. They should understand what you're looking for, and they should be the ones to help you find what you're looking for. And just because they're qualified to be a real estate agent does not mean that they're qualified to work for you. It's important to know that agents may not always act in your best interest. And this is something that I didn't realize when I was starting out investing in real estate. It's kind of like a car salesman. They want to build a rapport with you. They want to make you happy. But at the end of the day, they only get paid if you buy a car. And if you buy a car, the higher the amount that you buy the car for, the more his commission will be. And so it's in his best interest to sell you the car for the highest amount that you will possibly pay. And the same thing with your real estate agent. So although he's your real estate agent, he's actually being paid by the or she is actually being paid by the sale of the house. And so the higher the price that the house is sold at is the more commission each realtor or each real estate agent will get. Real estate agents are important through the process. They are your legal guidance through the process. They're supposed to help you navigate this process to make it as comfortable as possible for you. And they will be your mouthpiece in negotiations. But still remember that you are the person with the money. You're the person that is making the purchase. So at the end of the day, you can take their advice, but you've done your own research as well. Never offer an amount that you're not comfortable offering, because once the sale is done, they will go and enjoy their commission, and you will be the one that is going to live with the decision of what you paid for the house.
So now that you've found a real estate agent that you could trust and you guys have begun to look at properties, it's time to move on to step number 5, and that's to estimate your return on investment. A return on investment is simply a percentage number that represents how much money you get back after your initial investment. So with real estate, there are plenty of ways for value to grow. You get value through appreciation. You also get the value of your mortgage being paid down each month, and so you have less debt. But what we specifically want to estimate here is your cash on cash return. So this represents the cash that goes into your pocket each month after the expenses of your property have been covered. The information that you need is the purchase price that you want to offer. You also need your estimated interest rate, your down payment percentage, your long length in years, taxes. In most cases, you have to have insurance, so please look at those rates as well, and any other expenses that may be involved in the property. The other very important number that you need to know is the expected rent. There are 2 ways that we can recommend you guys to get this estimate. One, there's a website called biggerpockets.com, and they have rental calculators. We'll have the link in the description below. Unfortunately, you're only able to get 5 calculations for free, and then you have to pay after that. But we provide a customized sheet that we use for all of our properties that you can input these same values into and get back some great information. So we like to be very safe and secure with all of our investments we make. And for us, with our rentals, that means having an emergency fund for those rentals. So in our calculator, we automatically take out the percentage that builds our emergency fund as the months go along. And you'll see it represented here. So we have 5% that we take out for repairs. Then we have 5% that we take out for CapEx, which means capital expenditures, which is just a fancy way of saying big repairs like a roof or plumbing. And then we also have 5% that we take out for vacancy. This is in case we have a tenant that moves out and we need to cover the mortgage until a new tenant gets in. You see that there's an empty field here for property management. We manage our own property, but if you get a property management company, you will want to put a percentage in here as well. A common percentage that property management companies could take would be 10%, for example. And so when we look at the cash flow and the return on investment, these numbers that you see are after those expenses of what we take out over there. You add in all these numbers and then you will see the cash on cash return on investment. We aim for this number to be at least 7 or 8% because we could get 7 or 8% back from index funds. So we're looking for at least that. When you look at the cash flow, we're looking to get at least $200 a month in our case. Your standards may be different, but we wholeheartedly believe in investing based off of the numbers and not based on emotions. So if properties don't fall within these ranges of values, we don't invest in them, or we offer a lot less until it can fit into this range of values.
We're almost there, guys. Thank you for sticking with us so far. We're on step 6 now, and this is where you're going to make an offer. So how do you know what to offer? This is where all of your market research is going to come into play. You already know what the comparable houses in the area are selling for. You already know what return on investment you want to make, and you know what price point works with this return on investment. And so you're going to use all of this data, all of this research in order to come up with the offer that works for you. And when you make your offer, there are 3 possible outcomes that can happen from this. Your offer will either be rejected, and if that happens, there's always another opportunity out there, so don't feel bad. Or the seller may want to negotiate and they may counter your offer. And this process could go back and forth with negotiations until either one person decides that they walk away from it, or you guys decide on a mutually beneficial amount that both of you guys agree with, and then you will move forward with a contract. Or in the best case scenario, they'll just accept your first offer and you guys will both sign a contract. And at this point, you're going to go with the lender from your pre-approval that gave you the best terms and the best service, and you'll move forward with a loan application to be fully approved for this purchase. And this process, from the time that you apply for the loan after you have a full contract signed for the property, usually takes between 30 and 45 days to closing.
So congratulations, your offer has been accepted. At this point, you're going to go through that full process for your loan application, and also you're going to enter into something called the inspection period. And that takes us into step number 7, and that's always get a professional inspection. So during this inspection period time, this is your time to go and investigate the house to make sure your offer is truly what you expect it to be. So for example, if you offered $100,000 and then you did your walkthrough inspection of this house and found something wrong, you might want to offer $95,000 instead because you see that $5,000 worth of repair is needed. So when it comes to this process, we definitely 100% recommend that you guys get a professional to do this. There are actually professional companies that all they do is go through houses and do inspections. They professionally know how to look at every nook, every cranny, roofs, under, water leaks, air leaks, everything. And they're really good at what they do. And then they will provide you a report to let you know if there's anything wrong with the home. The reason why this is so important is because if you find anything wrong in these inspection reports, you're able to renegotiate your offer or even completely back out of the offer altogether.
And an inspection period is typically 10 days, but it can be specified in the contract to either be longer or shorter than 10 days.
And one more thing to note, and this comes to a bit of a personal experience for us, if you guys have a septic tank on your property, that's not typically inspected by the typical property inspector. get a septic tank company to come out and inspect the septic tank to make sure everything is good there as well. And we'll let you guys know why specifically in another video.
So we're finally at the end of the video. We're at step 8 where you close on your property. So your loan application is now finished. And at the beginning of the loan process, they gave you an initial loan disclosure that you want to make sure you look item by item on to see every cost that they are charging you for, and to make sure all the interest rates and the APRs and everything that is on that initial loan disclosure is everything that they promised you. And if there's anything you have questions about, make sure you ask, and make sure that if there's any fees that were promised to be waived, make sure you get those waived on that initial loan disclosure. When the loan application process is finished, you will get a final loan disclosure, and it's going to be right before you get to the closing table, so maybe a day or so before you go to closing, and you want to make sure everything lines up to what you initially agreed on. And if there is anything that you don't agree with, make sure you clarify it and get it fixed before you come to the closing table. Something important to know, if you're buying a rental property or if you're buying a multifamily property as a primary residence and there are renters already in the property, make sure that you have the rental lease agreement so you know exactly how much they paid for their security deposit, and make sure that security deposit is on your loan disclosure to make sure that you are going to get that in closing from the seller. Because once you take over a lease, that means you're now responsible for everything in that lease, including the security deposit. And also make sure that the prorated rent for that month is included as a credit to you on that form as well. And you're ready to close.
So congratulations, now you're a homeowner. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to stick with us until the end of this video. We know this isn't the typical length of video, but it's a lot of information that we felt is important for you guys to know. With this information, we're going to be going more into detail in future videos on all of these topics. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us directly at adesatima.financial@gmail.com. It's right here. I know my last name is kind of crazy to spell. But with that, if you enjoyed this content, please hit that like button for us because it really, really helps us out. And also, if you want to know when we release future videos, hit the subscribe button for us and also hit the notification bell, and you'll get alerted every time we put out a new video. If there's anything you want more specific information on as soon as possible, leave us a comment and let us know. But I think it covers everything. And until next time, see you guys.
See you guys.